You ready for the video?
Yeah.
Present practice. What is vibing? This is Vish
Kaya.
and today we'll be responding to Sadhguru's video on.
What is yoga?
Today I'm here with.
Kaya?
Want to tell us a bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. I'm from Chicago, the north side of the city. I did competitive swimming for 11 years. I go to NYU, where kind of difficult to describe what I study because I went to Gallatin. I like to read, write a lot, do some photography, and yeah, I'm into spirituality and stuff like that, but I don't like to define it because I think it's always journey and nothing is permanent except for change and stuff like that.
Very cool, and thank you so much for sharing your background experience. I'm curious, what does yoga mean to you with the experience or whatever that you have in terms of knowledge? What does it mean to you right now?
I think that it's a way to feel comfortable in my body because in one way or another we've all experienced like trauma in our bodies, whether it be through injury or like external forces and stuff like that, and it's a way to like deal with the presence and the injuries that come with that, and yeah, just to feel comfortable and aware and at peace with the present moment as well, because we try and focus so much on a fear-based mindset that it just allows you to be content with what is happening.
There we go, and I'm curious, how long have you been doing yoga?
Yeah, I started doing yoga. My mom made me go actually when I was like 9, and I would do it with her a few times a week in classes. And I stopped for a few years and when like I was really out of touch with my body, honestly. So the past couple of years, especially this year, I've been trying to get back into it. And there's 3 main different kinds of yoga, and I just do each one according to how I'm feeling or like what time of the month it is and things like that. Because sometimes it's better to do yin yoga if you want it to be slower or whatever.
Awesome, and thank you again for sharing that. And have you heard of a guy named Sadhguru before?
It sounds familiar, but I couldn't tell you much more.
Well, let's watch a video by him.
Sounds good?
Of all the things in the world, of all the things that a human being can do, why yoga? Everything that human beings can do is essentially an expression of who they are. Somebody sings a song, somebody dances, somebody writes a book, somebody paints a picture. Whatever else we do is an expression of who you are. You may be conscious of it, you may be unconscious of it, but still everything that you say, everything that you do, everything that comes out of you is essentially an expression of who you are. So yoga, in that way, is diametrically opposite to this, because it's not an expression of who you are. It's about determining as to who you are. It's about determining as to what you want to be. Changing the very fundamentals of one's existence. Today, there is substantial medical and scientific evidence to show that the very fundamentals of the activity of your brain, your chemistry, even your genetic content can be changed by practicing different systems of yoga. This needed no confirmation because we've always witnessed this. But today there is scientific data to prove this. So this is not an expression of who you are, this is about determining the nature of who you wish to be.
So what do you think so far after watching this?
I think it's interesting. His main 2 points were that everything we do is a form of expression and like showing who we are, and that yoga is a process of change and of witnessing that change. And obviously, like, whatever you believe will be your reality. So this is just me saying what I think. But I think that expression is like an interesting choice. He specifically cites like making a painting or something like that. But I think that's sort of to do our best to communicate to other people our existence as a person and things like that, which might be unnecessarily convoluted, but in a roundabout way of just saying like it is a form of expression, but not so much of who we are, because I think who we are is a choice. And to me, yoga has always been about stepping back from that and understanding that like we aren't our thoughts, we aren't the things that we do, we're what happens in between, like the space in between and things like that. And so it could be like change and choosing to change who we are and how we express ourselves. But I don't know that, I think for me, yoga is just a way to be absent from that and to step back and truly be in the now rather than existing in the world. Yeah.
The fundamental ingredients which has made you who you are. So yoga as a system needs much more involvement than any other things that any other forms of things that we do, which are merely an expression of who we are. If you find full expression through any particular activity, it may also leave you somewhat transformed. If you cook with all your heart, some transformation may happen. Yes, taking care of a cow can change your life, you know. If you sing with all your heart, some transformation may happen. If you dance with all your heart, some transformation may happen. But that is only a certain impact that is happening because of absolute involvement in a particular activity. But essentially that activity by nature is an expression of who you are. It is not determining the nature of who you are. So when we transform our activity, not as an expression of who we are, because who wants to find expression like this in the morning? Definitely not, isn't it? So, it is not an expression, it is a method, it is a means, it's a technology through which you can change the shape of who you are. Literally also, otherwise also. You can change the very shape of who you really are right now, that can be transformed. Because who you are right now as a person is a combination of things. Genetic material, before that, the karmic substance that you carry. Because of that, you chose a certain womb, so the genetic material. And since the moment you were born, whatever kind of impressions that have gone into you in the form of variety of experiences, situations, thoughts, emotions, relationships, associations, whatever else you have imbibed, all these things make you a certain kind of person. When you say, I am a certain kind of person, what you're saying is, I have this kind of compulsions. When you say, I am this kind of person, what you're saying is, This is the kind of compulsions that I identify myself with. So I am this kind of a person. People, it's a very Western thing, but it's very much there in India today, because a lot of Indians are far more Western than West. If you go all the way west, you come back to India. So they are much more Western than Westerners are today. So people say, I'm a morning person, I'm an evening person. So what they mean is, morning, I cannot wake up in the morning. That means I'm an evening person. I can't stay awake in the evening, so I'm a morning person. Not only that, people… it's going far, some are BlackBerry people, some are Apple people. It's all world is getting divided in so many ways. They're not just instruments that you use and keep it down, you get identified with it. So there are chapati people, there are rice people, there are dosa people, there are idli people, all kinds. So, what kind you are is essentially a certain type of compulsions.
So Kai, what'd you think after watching that video?
I really liked it. Sort of my nature to disagree with every point until I figure out my own perspective. But when he came to the end, I got what he was saying, and I, for the most part, agree. But it's also 7-8 minute video, so obviously you can't say his whole philosophy that quickly.
Cool. And was there anything that stuck out to you, or anything that you learned that very much stuck out to you again?
I really like that he talked about the karma and who we are, and sort of saying that the ways that we describe ourselves are the antithesis of the things that we cannot do, where he's like, if you're a morning person, it just means you have trouble staying up at night, and it's sort of, to me, the ways that we identify ourselves are just the opposites of where our struggles are and things that we need to work on. So that's why, in the beginning I sort of have trouble describing myself, because I try and be as neutral as possible about everything, because I think that anywhere where I feel super strongly about something, it's a place to break down my own ego in that way. And so I think he gets to the point of that in a good way.
Wow, I love the way you put that. And going off of that, was there anything that you disagreed with or didn't understand? Again, it's an open platform, so we'd love to hear it.
I don't know that I disagreed with anything in particular, but I think that the way he speaks, and maybe just to get the audience on his level without seeming too far in a certain direction, is that he seems very grounded in this reality and in the mindset of consumption, for lack of a better word. He describes the kinds of people we are based on what we do and don't like, but he never proposes a take on that. And maybe he's just saying it so that we understand, but he never says that there's an issue in that. And he relates it back to yoga by saying yoga is a method of figuring things out about ourselves, which I could agree with. And he says that forms of expression aren't quite that, but and before this I talked to you very briefly about the book The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. He talks about the language of the universe and how in any one thing you do, you can form a meditation around that and find flow, basically. And that's where you'll find the secrets of the universe, the language of the universe, and truth or universal truths and things like that, where we're born being all-knowing and we just have to use these things to find that. And I just would have liked if he had elaborated more on that, because I'm not sure if he even thinks that, but he alluded to it, which I appreciated.
There we go. Again, very well said again. It seems to, go and show how you do have a solid experience with, yoga and just spirituality as a whole. I can tell you have that awareness and you're seeking, which is important at the end. And yeah, I will say, I guess briefly based off what you've mentioned, this was you just said, it is just a 7-minute video.
Yeah.
So there's only so much that you could fit into it. And so he has, honestly, I think thousands of videos. So, I guess with that being said, what do you think of the guru himself?
Honestly, I've definitely seen some of his clips of him talking on TikTok and stuff, because that's just the side of TikTok I'm on, which obviously, again, even shorter videos are not enough to know, but he seemed I like his approach, and he seems very personable, and definitely caught myself smiling at parts, and the audience seemed to enjoy it. So, seems like a cool person to me.
Sweet, I love that. And let's wrap this up, and I want to ask you for a quick, what is something you're grateful for?
I'm grateful to just be able to witness the present in like any moment that I can, and being able to drop into a place that I now feel comfortable with.
Here's your spotlight. Any message to the world? Anything you want to say about anything?
Just treat people with kindness. That's all.
Awesome job.